Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rahakadash. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, it means He is. Yahweh Shai is the name of His Son, it means He is who saves. Rahakadash is the name of the Holy Spirit in Hebrew. Getting some scriptures. Just looking over, first of all, according to my app that I created, which I'm going to release as a website at some point. I'd like some people to review it because I'm not sure of the dates, but according to my app, we're in the Feast of the Tabernacles. It started today. So I went out just by chance really, but I think at the time I kind of realised it, but went outside and spent some time outside in the countryside today, just trying to remember that, and I need to spend some time with the family going over the story of the Maccabees and celebrated. And I believe that at Hanukkah, this is the Feast of the Tabernacles, we're meant to turn up, right, meant to enjoy ourselves, celebrate, be happy. So, like, although I don't give out Christmas presents, I've said this week, you can ask me for things, and I will be very generous with my money. With my family, it's a time for me to give gifts and that. So, happy Hanukkah for those who are celebrating. I know I may have got the dates wrong, but I'm just trying to rehearse the righteous acts. I'm looking for some guidance, and potentially when I get anybody revises the dates, then I will myself go and revise my app and see if I can get it more in line. So I should really read Maccabees. Let's read Maccabees. Oh no, hold on, I don't think that's got the Apocrypha on it. Bear with me. I was actually going to read something else, but Spirit just said, well, you know what, boy? You should be reading Maccabees. That's what we're going to do. First Maccabees. And it happened after Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians, and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece, and made many wars and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And these people can be traced back to history, and when I get my notes, I'm going to go back and get that history of these people. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honourable and that had been brought up to him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So I think this is Alexander the Great, unless I'm most mistaken. And he parted it unto his 4 friends, and they all started fighting. I can't remember, they're called up the tribunes or something like that. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule one and in every place. And after his death they put on crowns upon themselves, so did their sons after their many years, and evils were multiplied upon earth. And this is a fulfillment, I think, of Daniel chapter 7. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who'd been a hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days there went out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we are departed from them we have so much sorrow. So some of the Israelites decided to, try and appease them, because now they were under Edomite rule. They were under their funky Edomite, the wicked Edomite traditions and that. So they were trying to appease them and just do what they say. So this device pleased them well. Then a certain people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a palace of exercise in Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. So all this gym culture that is mad at the moment. A lot of people are mad about gym. I go to the gym, I ain't gonna front, but there's a heavy gym culture, and for them it was kind of alphabet too. I'm sure if you've seen the Greek verses and that, you know that they're rocking the alphabet style. Lots of people walking around shamelessly, you know what I mean, working out, and I'm sure there's a little bit more to that. Whereupon they built the place of exercise in Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of two realms. So Alexander split the realms, his kingdom, over four, and one of them, one person, I can't remember what his name was. They're saying Antiochus, but this may be later. But one of them had Egypt, and one of them had the upper Asia, and I'll get the four realms later. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude of chariots and elephants and horsemen and great navy, and made war against Ptolemy. Yeah, the Ptolemies, that's it, king of Egypt. But the Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got strong cities in the land of Egypt and took the spoils thereof. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went against Israel and Jerusalem in the great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the shewbread, and the pouring of the vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold. These are like sacred objects, man. And just went in there, bold, and took all these things, and the gold and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel in every place that they were. So the princes and elders mourned the virgins, and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. So really, like we're talking about, it's kind of a metaphor, really, but more to do with the fact that the bride, and that's meant to be them happy people, right? They're meant to be so blushing bride and a handsome groom, and happy groom and that, but they were just not even feeling their own weddings, right? The land was also moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. So to say the land was moved and inhabitants, that means that the law was made to make other people comfortable, like the heathen people comfortable, and then so they put laws and ordinances to make for heathen customs, and the house of Jacob was covered with confusion, man, because they didn't know the Jakes that there was Israelites. The Jakes didn't really know how to move now because the law didn't support their customs. After 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector to tribute unto the cities of Judah. He came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them. But all was deceit, for when he had given them credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and the children took they captive, and possessed the cattle. Then builded they the city of David with great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put but women and children took they captive. So he killed a lot of the men and took the women. We've been talking about this. It's interesting because this is not. This is a Greek or Edomite who'd come to do this. So taking the women didn't take him to play tiddlywinks, and talking about the great doctrine and all that sort of stuff. You could talk about Israel, how it was nasty, but look at that. Edomites was on that thing too, so there you go. Then they built this. Then they built the city of David, the great strong wall, and made mighty towers and made it. So they took the city over and defended it. Fortified it. They put their sin. They're in a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. And I think it was like, let's not kid ourselves, right? They knew that Israel was powerful, and they know that the power of the God that the Israelites served. So one of their things was to disrupt and disconnect Israel, like as in Psalms 83, right? They wanted to cut this nation off away from their God, so they took over the city, raided the temple, desecrated the temple, and stuck themselves in there and put a whole bunch of sinful people in there that they knew, so that our Lord Yahweh, I dare say his name without saying Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, but our Lord wouldn't want to dwell therein, to disconnect from the people. They stored it also with armor and victuals, and when they gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, so they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers and became a strange to those that were born in her, and their own children left her. So a lot of people ducked out, man, because the place was full of madness. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. I said, so everything, they're backward up the rules. They filled everything with wickedness. Every Sabbath day, they did something that was reproachable, or at least reproached them, or who conducted the Sabbath. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased. As her excellence was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that they should all be one people. And this happens quite a lot even today, and understanding that in Daniel chapter 7, where it talks about a beast that breaks other things into pieces, just trying to take over the cities and separate them into wards and stuff, that albeit all in one style. And everyone should leave his laws, so all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to this religion, and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. And what does it mean to profane the Sabbath? As our elder apostle Tahar mentioned recently, having sex on the Sabbath, for anything that you do, like working on the Sabbath, anything that might make you unclean, it could be touching, being around menstruating, or anything that will make you unclean on the Sabbath. That's profaning the Sabbath, doing what you're not meant to do on the Sabbath, working for money, even shopping and stuff like that, trying to make some trade. So and pollute and forbid the burnt. For the king had sent many letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days. So he's actually actively trying to work against that, and it's not by accident. And pollute the sanctuary and holy people, in one sentence, because disgusting. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and groves, you heard about Bohemian Grove, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. So you're going to sacrifice a swine to Yahweh, man. Mad mad people. But also, you have to understand that all this roast that they do, like when they talk about Thanksgiving, or when they talk about Christmas, all these like they always like to have a roast in it. But you have to understand it comes from somewhere. It's not like they just all decide to eat roast meat, but no, it comes from the fact that some of these other pagan gods and some of the Christian gods as well. You were meant to like say, for example, the Passover. You were meant to roast a lamb in it. So but part of it was part of the sacrifice. You're meant to give some kind of sacrifice towards and towards Yahweh. So there's a practice in many religions where you roast, where you sacrifice an animal and eat it as part of a religious festival. However, it's in today's time, they're just seen as, oh, you just have a roast at that time, but it came from that kind of practice that they should leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable in all manner of uncleanliness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. That's what the point was, right? To change the culture of the Israelites so that they might forget the law and change and disconnect them from their God. Psalms 83. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said, he should die. In the self-same manner wrote he to his whole people, the kingdom, and appointed overseers to all the people, commanded all the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. So you were at the eat pork, roast the pork for some funky god on the Sabbath and forget your own law. By law, there are many of the people who gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land. Then many of the people were gathered unto something. We had to sell out Israelites basically, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor. For now the 15th day of the month of Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar. This is what I believe was talked about in Matthew 24, and builded idol altars throughout the cities on the Judah on every side. So they set up something disgusting on the altar and builded idol altars. Now I'm going to see if I can get this in New International Version, First Maccabees 1 and 56. No, 54. I'm going to try that in a second. And build incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. I'm so mad at that. So mad at that. And whosoever was found with any book of the Testament, or if any had committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put to death. Now, come on now. It's not like you just wanted to have your gymnasiums, was it? He was actively trying to destroy the connection with the Israelites and their God. Thus they did by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many were found in the cities. Now the 5th and 20th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. So they set up and this is the abomination of desolation. They set up an altar to an idol upon the is like the most disgusting thing. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised, and they hanged the infants about their necks and rifled their houses and slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit, many in Israel were resolved, and they're confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean things. So even after all of this persecution and being surrounded by a bunch of weirdos, heathen pagans with their disgusting idols and their disgusting, unclean, wicked practices, some people, and then with the king putting pressure on all manner of people, killing people that were holding on to their faith. Even so, some people were still saying, no, not going to do it. Some people still stay strong. Wherefore the rather to die, that they may not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant, so that they died So then they died, and then there was a great wrath upon Israel. There was a very great wrath upon Israel, and the wrath was, this is abomination of desolation, and this man coming through doing his madness. Anyway, I'm gonna shut off there. Happy Hanukkah, and see you in the next one. We'll be carrying on. I'll try and do one every day for this week, and we'll go through Maccabees. Shalom.